You're listening to Rise Up, stories of recovery, resilience, and renewal with Matthew Taube.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt Taube. This is Rise Up, stories of recovery, resilience, and renewal. I've got an amazing guest. I already fanboyed a bit on him before. This is Jake the Snake Roberts. You all know him from a long time ago and up through the years, up until now. Jake has done some amazing things. His presence on social media is everywhere now, which I even love. Plus your new podcast that you started last month, and everything else in between. So we're just going to dive right in. You know, Jake, I already told you, I saw you when you were in Toronto. God, way back. I think I was like 12 or 13 years old back then. Followed up over the years, and then like so many things over the years, people kind of drop off, fall out of the limelight and the spotlight. And it was about, I think it was 2017. Somebody reached out to me and said, you've been through recovery. I started talking about my story of recovery, and they said, you've got to see this movie, Jake the Snake, The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. And I just sat there like in awe, because like we just said before this started, you captured everything in that documentary. Like I said, you only imagine what's on the cutting room floor. But let's start there. What's that?
A couple of F-bombs.
Oh, God, just a couple of F-bombs.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy. So I want to thank you for giving me the time to do this today and have your message go out, because your message is really what I'll tell you. Like when I first started doing the podcast, I'm like, I need to speak to Jake, because again, your story resonated so much with me that I'm like, this is exactly what it is. You've risen up, like, the resurrection. You've risen up and you've gone through so much since then. Yeah. Life has changed.
Oh, God, yeah.
Right, which is so great,
Man. Life is very sweet for me right now.
Life, it's great, and I love it. And that's what I think people miss out when we talk about recovery, that we don't always see, whether it's a small little win that people have, or something as magnanimous as what you've gone through and where you are now. Sure. So it's amazing. Let's talk about it. Let's dive into.
Let's do it, man.
Wherever you want to start. You pick it out. You start where you want to start.
Let's just pick at the bottom of the barrel, man. That's where it began, was at the bottom of the barrel. I'd been down and out for about 7 or 8 years. Barely affording to live, not knowing where my next food was going to come from, or I'd sold my car, didn't even have transportation, living in a little shack. It was humiliating. I wouldn't go out unless it was 3 o'clock in the morning, because I didn't want people to see me. So I'd do my shopping at 3 a.m. at Walmart, because I was too embarrassed about what I looked like.
Right.
I ballooned up to over 300 pounds, about 309, I think is what it was. And I was just a walking blivet, I called it. Just a big blivet, just a tub of shit. That's the way I felt. But I was in the process of trying to die.
Right.
Sensational Sherry had died the month before, and her and I were real close. And I remember going to her funeral and saying to her while she laid there in the casket, Sherry, I thought we were great friends. Why didn't you take me with you? That's pretty messed up.
Yeah.
But that's where I was at. And along come Diamond Dallas Page and offers me a deal. He was trying to get his workout regimen out there, DDPY yoga. And he was trying to get people to buy into that. So they came up with this idea of trying to nurse me back to health by doing DDPY yoga and by being sober.
Right.
Well, there's got to be something in it for me. So Dallas said the magical words. He said that if I would move to Atlanta, he would pay for the move. He'd pay all my bills off. And if any bills came due while I was there, he'd pay for them too.
Okay.
He'd even catch me up in my back child support, thousands of dollars. And I'm like, well, hell, that's a no fucking brainer right there, brother. I'm doing this shit, you know?
Right.
You mean
That's a given.
I get to eat every night, you know? So I moved, and I thought in the beginning that I'd last probably 2 weeks
Right.
because I knew how he was. He was going to be strict. He was going to be on it. And, he didn't pound me into the ground as easily as he could have. He took his time in the beginning, but he started me off slow doing the DDPY yoga, and we gently built it and built it and built it and built it. And the next thing you know, I'd lost 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, losing 20 pounds when you haven't done anything positive for yourself in so long was major for me, because it gave me something I hadn't had in years, hope.
Yeah. 100%.
There was now hope. My God, I can change. It is possible. I really can. Oh my God, I can. So we started training harder. Well, what happens? I blow my shoulder. I have no insurance. I have nothing. I'm figuring, okay, I told you, Jake. You know, those old voices came back. Yeah, you're a loser. Forget about it. You're done. Your shoulder's done. You're screwed. You can't do it now.
And those voices suck because
Oh,
they're always there.
They're loud too.
They're the I say to people all the time, you can have all the motivational coaches, you can have all the books in your ears all you want. At the end of the night, you're lying there all alone.
Yeah.
Even if someone's next to you, you're all alone, and those voices are fucking loud.
They are loud. Well, it was telling me that it was done. But Dallas come to the rescue and come up with this idea of doing a GoFundMe to see if we could get my shoulder surgery done. It's going to be about 20 grand. God, I didn't have 2 grand, much less 20. Hell, I didn't have 200. You know, and yeah, I didn't think it would work. I thought it was bullshit. I'm like, man, nobody's going to give me money to have my shoulder fixed. Why would they do that? Because they love you. Oh, fuck you, Dallas. Nobody even remembers me. And long story short, overnight, we raised 20 grand.
Yeah.
One day.
That's
and
insane.
That blew me away. It also woke me up to the fact that, hey, maybe there are people that care about me. It was a great feeling for me. After I quit crying, I enjoyed it.
Well, I'll tell you, that scene in the movie, I actually bring I know it's coming.
Yeah.
And it still brings tears because it's you were part of so many people's life growing up. Like that care you got, it's, you know, you're a part of other people.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that care came back. Without even knowing, I'm sure there are people when we were younger that what you were doing in that ring or what you were doing on that stage lifted other people up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got them high, got them going, made them happy.
Yeah, yeah.
So once we had that, and then I came back and started working out again, and then I just kept moving forward. Yeah, there were some slips. I think I slipped 3 times in a period of 2 years. But, you know, each time we slipped, we learned something about me. And
right.
We just knew we had to fix this or we had to fix that. And, you know, it's pretty easy then. It's like putting blocks, you know, stacking blocks on top of each other. You know, I did things like the first thing I done was I cut my driver's license up so I wouldn't drive places that I shouldn't be.
Right.
The
next
thing I done was if I went to work, I couldn't go anywhere without having somebody with me.
Right.
No traveling alone. No sitting in first class, pounding drinks. None of that bullshit. So we shored up all the defenses, man, and I kept going. And lo and behold, you know, you see the finished product, but it wasn't finished. It was just getting started.
Yeah.
You know, I thought when I went into the Hall of Fame, okay, I did it, you know, ring the bell, I'm here. But my God, now it's turned in, it's a gigantic snowball effect. Things just keep happening for me. Bigger things keep happening for me. The end of the month, I think it's February 26th, my special comes out on AEW.
Nice.
Not AEW, A&E.
That's right. That's right. That's gonna be.
Yeah, and it's a huge special, man.
You know, you've made it when there's a special of you on A&E.
Yeah.
Even more so when you're still alive.
Yeah, got
Like,
that right. Got that
you know,
right.
you get to watch your special on A&E.
Yeah, but they paid handsomely for it, I might add. Which
That's awesome.
one of the biggest paydays I've ever received.
Nice.
Which is just really cool. Really
I'm telling
cool.
you've come that far.
The greatest thing that's happened to me, I think, since getting sober is me being able to reestablish my family.
Yeah.
You know, putting that back together. And it's still a work in progress. There's some that still balk, but that's okay. It's all, you know, it's their right to balk, you know. I get that. But the biggest one, which was my ex-wife, Cheryl,
Yeah,
from the Rick Rude days, we've been divorced for 24 years. But now we're getting back together. We're about ready to get married.
no way.
Yeah.
That I love. That's amazing.
So think the impossible, but expect more. That's my new thought. Because I didn't think any of these things were possible.
Well, yeah, when you look back, you're walking through Walmart, 309 pounds. This is like, these are none of the thoughts we had. When we're on that destructive behavior.
Yeah, man. Nothing good's ever going to happen to you. You know?
Yeah.
And now I'm going fishing with my boys and having a great time, doing great stuff with my grandchildren. I've got 9 grandchildren so far. And
so far.
Yeah, I'll probably wind up with about 30, I think.
Nice.
I had 8 kids, man. So, but anyway, it amazes me how many doors have flown open for me.
Right.
Now I've got people wanting to do my life story in a full-length movie. You know, it's like, holy crap, man, are you serious? Yeah, they're real serious. And just great things. I'm getting ready to go on another comedy tour. I'll just be traveling around different places all over the world, going back and seeing the places that I flew by in the middle of the night one time.
Right.
At 100 miles an hour, you know, gritting my teeth the whole way or hanging on to a bottle, not paying attention to what I was seeing, to now going back and actually taking the time to look around and soak up some of the sights and meet some people and hang out, visit.
That's amazing.
Do signings. I love doing signings. Some guys hate doing signings. I love doing signings, man.
Because you're back there again. You're getting and you get to meet the people who you've been a part of their life.
Right. And I get to hear their stories. They tell me the stories about, oh yeah, the first time I went with my grandpa and we sat and blah, 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 you know, and then all of a sudden you'll turn and look and you'll see a tear coming down their eye because maybe grandpa's not there anymore. But the funny thing that gets me is like, my God, I'm part of these people's life till the end. Yeah. We have that connection.
Yeah. You know? Listen, I had a friend of mine I told that I was talking to you, and he was like, oh my God. He goes, year after year, I was Jake for Halloween. And it was like, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, it was crazy. He goes, I used to walk around the house with like a pillowcase with shit that pretending it was a snake. Like you don't realize, you know, and I can tell you, I don't know. What's that?
You don't realize the impact you have on people.
The impact. So I used to go down, I don't even remember back in the days, you know, in Toronto, there was Sunday wrestling every week. There was always a Sunday wrestling match at Maple Leaf Gardens. And, you know, because you guys were also big to, you know, when you were younger, and I would look at it and think, they're just they're just walking out the side door, hopping in their car and driving off. Where it was like, so then I would learn to stand at the side door and meet everybody. And it was those moments where you were still all larger than life, even though you were just regular people walking the front door. So, you know, it became normal to see that part of it. And then years later, see where it's gone to a lot of, you know, the wrestlers, you know, that world, that industry. You know, you weren't the only one.
No.
who, luckily again, listen, there's a lot that we lost, right?
Yeah,
So
a
we're
lot
here
of guys are
now.
gone, man.
So do you, through AEW or anything else, do you connect still with anybody?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I work for AEW right now. My job is teaching guys how to do interviews. I
See,
might know something about that.
you're just slightly good at that. That's one of those things that, again,
I've got a foot up
you,
on that. So
you've been there. Public speaking was definitely a highlight that you picked up over the years.
yeah, I picked up a gift of gab. All right.
That's 100%. So you've gotten sober, you've gotten clean. You did it through DDP
Yeah.
and help of Dallas.
Right.
Scott Hall was there as well.
Yeah.
Right. Who's missed right now, obviously.
Yeah. He couldn't win, man.
Yeah, but he was happy. He did win.
Yeah,
didn't he? Right? Like, things changed.
Yeah, they changed bad though, man, for him. But
we're here.
Yeah, sucks.
So it does. Sometimes it does.
Losing anybody to addiction sucks, man.
100%.
I don't care who it is. People come, well, how did he die? Does it really matter how he died? The fact that he's dead should be enough. Give it a break. Get off of it, man. Don't point a finger at anything. That's sort of like, you get your arm cut off by a chainsaw. Do you ask which tooth got you first?
Right.
No.
And it's hard.
Got my ass, man.
People don't realize when I went to rehab, I did a 21-day stint and I made it hard because we don't do anything easy. Have you noticed that? Addicts don't do it easy.
No.
I did an inpatient program where I actually got permission to go out every day and go to work. So I'm a trainer by trade. So I'd wake up at 4 a.m, train my clients, be in rehab by 8:30, be there all day long, finish at 5, go train more clients and go home. Right? Because we don't do it easy. And, I remember about 6 months after I was done, one of the guys in my group died. And it was twofold. One, I was so heartbroken, right? But not just because he died. Doesn't matter how, addiction is addiction, right?
Yeah.
It was the fact that nobody there knew he was an addict.
Oh, wow.
And I'm walking around the Shiva house with my wife and we're walking around and I'm like, only we knew. And it was like, it was so hard to sit there and, that it was hidden. And I felt bad because he hid the whole time. And then even in death, he was still hiding. It was like awful, so I get it. No one needed to know the mechanism of what it was, but just to know that he suffered, like he was in pain.
He was suffering, man.
So it's that part of it's tragic. But so did you do anything else, or you didn't do any 12 steps? You didn't do any?
Yeah, I did the 12 steps. I went through it, man. I've done that several times. I've been to several. I went to several rehabs, man, but none of them caught on. And I've kind of got a theory about that, man. It's like, you go to a rehab and they put you in there for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 2 months or 3 months. And then they open the door and tell you to go.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you have no support system. Unless you're filthy rich, you have no money left.
Yeah.
And everybody in the world wants money from you right then.
Right then. Everything you were avoiding by drinking and using is still there. That's
still there.
That's what people understand. When we're done, man. They're there, and there's lots of hands going like this. Give me,
man. And what do you do normally?
Well, we escape.
Back up.
Yeah.
You want to escape all the noise, man. So that's one of my bitches about rehab. I think if somebody goes to rehab, they ought to have a 1-year grace.
Yeah, like I know that I was one of I'm that 1% that went to rehab, but there was a long stint going up to it. And when I stopped, I quit drinking in December, but I actually didn't enter rehab till February 14th.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I had like a good almost 2 straight months of like not knowing how to do it, trying the meetings, trying this, trying that. So it was hard. But when I came out, I was like, everybody needs to go to this thing because I was lucky. I was in that 1%.
Yeah.
You know, there are people I met there who was like two things. One, they'd been there repeatedly.
Yeah.
One, because they needed to be there repeatedly. Right. Other times, because for some of them, it's the first time in a while, since the last time probably, they had 3 square meals.
Exactly.
Right. And that we don't realize that's part of the addiction issue now.
Yep.
So
we give up everything for it, man.
We give everything. Now, would you go back, and I ask this to everybody else, was there any, I hate the word regret, but would you change it, knowing where you are now and what you've got, everything, with Cheryl and everything, would you go back and change it?
I would have liked to have seen what Jake the Snake sober could have produced.
Right.
Maybe for a period of time. What was possible before I started screwing things up? I know they wanted me to be world champion, but they couldn't let me be world champion because I had problems.
Right.
Not that everybody else didn't have problems. Everybody has friggin' problems, but mine seemed to be louder than others.
Right.
So,
and that was the end. That was what kind of brought that career down.
Yeah. Sure it was.
So we've come up through the years. So when you finished the career where were you living?
Oh God, in Texas.
In Texas. So that's up until 2012?
Yeah.
And then you moved to Atlanta.
Yeah, I moved to Atlanta. And since being here, I've stayed, I think, 4 years here. Then I went out to Vegas for 4 years. And then from Vegas, I went to Kansas City for 2 months.
No, that's in Kansas.
Wow.
You're not in Kansas anymore, right?
Yeah, then I came back to Atlanta.
All right, that's
tail between my legs.
Since then, so you've got AEW, you got the A&E thing coming out.
Yeah.
You've got your podcast.
Yeah.
The Snake Pit. Now you're doing one with Dallas, right?
No, just me now.
Just you now. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got that, which is a lot of fun. I've been watching that.
Yeah.
You've got everything that you're doing on social media. You're
Plus
just
starting the tour.
Starting the tour. You just did a movie.
Yeah.
How was the movie?
Great.
How fun was that?
Great. You can see it on Netflix, Out of Exile.
Okay, Out of Exile.
Check it out, man. It's pretty damn good.
Well, of course we'll check it out. So you're doing that.
Good, man. You're
getting married again.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
What advice do you give people? You've been through so much. So what I really want to capture is, what are you doing to tell people after all you've been through? What advice would you give people out there, whether they're in the throes of it, which is hard? We know it's hard to talk to somebody in that moment, but when they're starting and
if you're in it, it's time to get out. So the first thing you got to do is you got to do everything you can to get out of it. That means ditching your friends, grab what family you can for their support, if they'll still talk to you.
Right.
Get on some antabuse. I'm a big believer in antabuse, because that'll stop you from drinking. I promise you that. Holy shit, man. I screwed up and had some alcohol after I'd taken one of those pills by accident.
Okay.
I had beer battered fish, and it made me so fucking sick, brother. I thought I was dying.
It's that extreme.
Yes. I was throwing up and shitting my pants at the same time.
Wow.
It was just blowing out both ends, man. It was horrible.
That will get you right there not to do it again.
Brother,
Granted.
I hadn't even made it home. I was still in the restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Because I do think that there are times in our lives where when we were so wasted, that probably did happen.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't wasted. I had 2 pieces of fish.
That's
all of a sudden I got hot. I started, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to pass out. And I headed for the bathroom, man. And before I got to the bathroom, it was coming, man. Both ends.
So do you still use antabuse?
Nope.
No. So you're off
No,
that.
I don't have to anymore. I'm
Awesome.
good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Now,
If I ever thought that I was wanting to drink again, I would.
right.
But
And you've not had that. I mean, there's no, cause
no
you've
issues at all.
and I find some people where there's like, I was the same, you know, my come to Jesus moment of this was I came home wasted, told the nanny to go home. Wife wasn't there, put my 1 and a bit-year-old, gave him a bath. Woke up, passed out on the kitchen floor. My first thought was, oh, fuck. Not that my wife was staring down on me, ready to throttle me, but I remembered giving the bath. Ran to the bathroom. Water wasn't there. He wasn't there. I had put him to bed, but I had no memory of it. Right? So you kind of reach that point where it's like, I'm there, you know, and people ask me all the time, they say, well, do you think you can drink again? And I say,
I don't want to.
I'm like, I don't want to, but nothing's stopping me but me. Like, I'm like, that's what, it's not like I can drink whenever the hell I want to drink.
Yeah, I could too, but I don't want to, man.
I don't want to. I've seen the movie. I know how that movie ends.
Yeah,
The movie sucks.
I've watched it a million fucking times, bro.
Yeah. Don't want to go down that road.
No.
Seen the movie, had the popcorn, don't want to do it ever again.
Got the t-shirt.
Got the t-shirt, and it was a shitty t-shirt. It's a shitty t-shirt. But it's...
Right.
So what are your thoughts? I asked this, what are your thoughts on things like... So New Year's Eve, so I've got my oldest is 18, he's in university. I got a 16-year-old, and I got a 13-year-old. So none of them have actually seen me drink. And we kind of joke, we're a dark humor family.
Yeah.
I love dark humor. I think that gets me through a lot, especially, you know, addicts of dark humors. You know, years ago, my kids would be like, they tell yo mama jokes and they'd be like, Dad, yo mama. I'm like, my mama's dead, so I don't know where you're going with this. And they'd be like, Dad, it's not funny. I'm like, well, that's what we do. So for my 16th anniversary of sobriety, my 15-year-old at the time says, Dad, I know what we should do. We should go on a pub crawl to celebrate your anniversary. I'm like, you're an ass.
Yeah, that's a little dark humor.
Way dark, but we joke about to that level. So this year we were going New Year's Eve, and my wife will drink, not a lot. She'll have a glass of wine, God knows how often. Doesn't bother me, right? We go New Year's Eve to friends of ours. We go to pick up some wine for her to bring to their house, and my wife says, have you ever had, she says, one of those non-alcoholic beers? And I said, you know what? I never have. Only because to me, it's always been, again, I don't need the flavor of the beer.
No.
I don't need that taste. But I was curious. So I went to go see, I said, I'm in the liquor store. Do they even have it here? I went to go look at it. And they have the 0%. They have like 0.3, 0.4. I'm like, the second I see a point and a number behind it, I'm like, okay, that's not alcohol free.
No.
That's number one. But then my 13-year-old kind of walks up to me and says, hey, Dad, do you think you really need to have that non-alcoholic beer? And I'm like, well, let's hear your thought on it. And he says, well, what if you really like it and you decide to start drinking again? I'm like, you know what? Let's go. And out we went. I was more curious to see what they had there. But what are your thoughts? Like, are your thoughts of like, you just don't do it?
Brother, we're addicts and alcoholics. Let me tell you a real quick story. I had a therapist and I argued to him that I was an alcoholic. I said, I'm not a fucking alcoholic, man. I just enjoy drinking beer. He's like, let's find out if you're an alcoholic. I said, okay, what kind of test do I have to do? He goes, here's what you're going to do. I want you to go home today. What are you going to do when you get home? I said, I've got to mow the yard. He goes, yeah, and you probably drink beer when you're doing it, don't you? I said, well, normally I like to drink beer while I'm mowing the yard. He goes, well, today, why don't you try drinking non-alcoholic beer? Get you a 6-pack of it. I'm like, well, that doesn't fucking make any sense. Why would I want to do that? But I did it. Man, I got 4 beers into that, and I had a buzz.
Really?
I had a buzz going on, man. And it's like Pavlov's dogs, man, ringing that bell. Your mind, the taste tells you it's okay. That's like if you ask people, how long does it take you to start feeling good once you start drinking? How long
Yeah.
does it take you? Is it immediate?
For me, when I drank, yeah, it was.
Much.
I did a call yesterday with somebody, and it was I was a blackout drunk,
Yeah, me
and
too.
the next morning I would wake up, and I remember, and so telling people, I mean, I didn't have any DUIs, I didn't have any, anything messy. There are people with stories that are worse than mine,
Oh God, yeah.
and I always felt like I had like this imposter syndrome. Like, why is my story any more relevant? And I'm thinking I was a blackout drunk daily. I would wake up in the morning, reach the point where I would wake up in the morning and I would start drinking at about 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh God.
Right. And I remember I was telling this person yesterday, I straight from the bottle, bottle of wine, straight from the bottle, sip, drink it back. And I remember thinking to myself, and in my head, I remember this, I know exactly where I was when I said it. This is the elixir of life. It literally thought in my head.
Oh yeah.
Because you felt it. It felt like, almost like, watching like Popeye eat spinach, right? It was like,
I know, man. I know.
Yeah, my chest would pop open and I felt like I'd feel it go through my hands.
Here's the thing. When you're drinking like that, you drink, it takes an hour and a half for your body to break that shit down.
Yeah.
So why are you feeling better? Because of the taste.
The taste.
Your mind screwing yourself.
Yeah.
So if the taste is going to do it, brother, I damn sure don't want to try.
Exactly. Well, that was my thought, and I've never had it. I've never had.
Yeah.
My wife years ago were at a farmer's market. It was like 98 degrees plus humidity. I was dying, and we went and we got something cool to drink, and it was like a farmer's market, like a really greeny farmer's market. They had kombucha. Popped it open in a bottle, and instantly I like, whoa, handed her the bottle. I said, can you read that bottle all over? Because I'm telling you,
it's got booze.
That is beer. It is 100% beer. She goes through it. She's like, it is fermented, but there's 0.0. I'm like, it smells like beer. I ended up getting a different flavor, which did not smell like beer, and met the guy who brewed it. Okay. About a year later, I told him this. He goes, funny you say that. We actually sell it on tap at bars for the designated driver. Because it looks like beer, smells like beer. And I'm like, I can't do it. It's amazing. You're right. It's that the whole mind. It's not just the drinking, it's the mind bit.
No, it's the mindset, man.
I smoked for years, and to this day, I still have an indent. I haven't smoked in 25 years.
Man,
but I still, to this day, will rub my finger together when I get nervous, or I hold a pen right there. My wife always, it's a tell. I can't play poker with her. If I'm nervous, she sees my finger rubbing. She's like, what's the matter? What are you keeping from me? Yeah, I'm like, there's no lie. What are you keeping from me now? So it's insane. It's insane what we go through, and the challenges. And I love that that you have the same mindset there. What do you tell your kids clearly know all about it? Your grandkids, how was the oldest?
16.
They know the story. They know everything. They know
a little bit of it. Yeah, not the daggers and all that shit, but they know about enough of it. And then, of course, they're going to know about it because it's everywhere.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I first told, I didn't tell anybody. So I was sober for about 11 years till I said anything. And more than that, about 13 years. And I remember I wrote an article for the Huffington Post about my sobriety. And my wife said, before you hit enter, are you sure you're ready for this? Because once you put it out there on the internet, that's it. Like, it's going to be on the Huffington Post and it's there. Like, are you you got to talk to the kids. You got to and it's funny because my kids, My oldest one's 18. He's in university, right? Apparently, we found this out 2 weeks ago. His frat brothers call him lightweight.
Good.
I'm okay with that, right?
Okay.
You know, it's look at my middle one who's changing his friend group because they're starting to vape and they're starting to party. And he's like, we told him a couple years ago, we said, you're an athlete, you're a hockey player. You have a choice. You can be an athlete or you can be a burnout. The choice is yours, but there's no combination of the two.
Damn sure isn't, man.
And he just decided to change his friend group. Right? Like
vaping is worse than smoking.
Vaping 100% is worse than smoking. And it's all that. So
it's killing people, man.
It's killing people, and we know too much now.
Yeah, we do.
We know way too much to know not to do it. So you've got all this sense. What's that?
It was common sense in the beginning, and we pushed that aside and said, no, it's not that bad.
Right.
Bullshit. Go sell your fucking product. After you buried a couple 100,000, we'll talk.
Yeah, exactly. That kills me. So do you do any meetings now? Do you do 12 steps now? Do you do anything?
No,
or is it just...
I don't make many meetings. I guess I'm selfish in a way because I just got a bad taste in my mouth whenever people started, cell phones changed meetings, man.
Yeah.
And I'd come out of a meeting, there'd be 30 people in the parking lot wanting an autograph, How the fuck did you know I was even here?
Yeah,
it just really burnt me out on that shit, man. So, if I needed to go, I would still go.
Yeah.
But I don't feel right now that I'm in that. I sponsor several kids.
Okay.
I'm trying to help as many people as I can because that list sometimes will jump up on you. Especially if you get one that's really in a bad spot. And I've had one that's been in a bad spot, man. And he had a heart attack while he was trying to get cleaned up, and oh man, you got to come off of it slow sometimes, bro.
I've got a brother who sadly is still an addict, and we've tried, and I remember he got ill, and there was a whole thing where I have to bring him back to Toronto. He lives in Calgary, and I said to my sister, I said, listen, if you bring him back here, I said, I go, you stop him from drinking.
It'll kill him.
I go, he'll die. I go, within days. Like, you're talking like he's got to be done slowly. And that's part of what people don't understand. Like, we drink every day, right? And again, that whole self-sabotage. I wasn't trying to kill myself, but in the really end, I had trauma, big T trauma, little T trauma. I had it all, right? And, once you find out what the symptom is, because drinking is just, the cure.
Right.
There's a symptom behind it.
Yes.
And there's
a reason for this shit.
There's a reason. And I'll tell you, I suppressed my reason.
Oh, yeah.
So far back in my head.
You couldn't even find them.
Had no idea. But therapy years later and figured out I was subconsciously drinking to make sure it stayed the hell back there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when it reared its ugly head, I ramped that up like tenfold.
Yeah, buddy. Buddy.
It's
all right, brother.
Listen, I want to.
If anybody wants to get a hold of me, man, they can get up. Instagram is Jake the Snake DDT.
Yeah.
Get a hold of me. Watch the podcast, Jake's the Snake Pit Pod. And of course, if you want to go check my shop out, it's jakethesnakeshop.com.
Perfect. I'm going to put all these links into the
appreciate it, bro.
The notes there as well as watching a movie. When I'll throw it out there when the A&E show comes out. Jake, I want to thank you, man. You're doing so much for the movement, and you're talking it out. So I want to thank you for taking your time here.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Keep going.
Right.
We'll talk again later down the road.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. Be good.
All right. Thank you.
You're listening to Rise Up, Stories of Recovery, Resilience, and Renewal with Matthew Tobe.